Welcome back to Block TV. This is Trader's Take, where we take a deep dive into the technical charts to see exactly what's going on in the crypto markets. And as always, we're joined by the fortune teller, hopefully the fortune maker, the man with the plan, Joe Saz. Joe, thanks for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure, Yona. And hopefully the fortune maker, if I can get this price call to 8,200, right?
Yeah, listen, you've been harking that all the way from Wisconsin. Now we're glad to have you back home where you got that good internet connection. Tell me, your internet connection is good. How is the markets?
They're actually stable, and that's kind of a good thing for Bitcoin right now, considering we've had consistently lower lows. You know, it's with each of these lower lows, it brings about more uncertainty. You know, when's the next one going to happen? You know, instead of a rejection and, you know, what appears to be an obvious bull market and, you know, bubbling up, you know, we have these lower lows looming over our heads as traders and, you know, as investors, right? And so it's been a little rough, but I'm actually happy to see that we're fighting, you know, and we're taking $50 to $100 moves at a time. And pushing ourselves up out of what would be, you know, the lower end of 7K territory is definitely bearish into the 6K territory. Now we're kind of making our way into a neutral 7K zone, which is, I think, going to be the setup that puts us into a 8,200 Bitcoin over the next, you know, hopefully a couple weeks, 3 weeks, but I'm hoping it moves fast. But we have the Bitcoin US dollar 15-minute chart here. You can see that we've had some, you know, the bulls are reaching for the sky right now. We got a big flash up here, full retrace, in fact, greater than the pump, into a bottom, a steep rejection, big wicks down here, a move to the upside, and a number of tops. This is actually normally, this could mean one of two things, all these tops, right? This could mean that we're getting rejected here over and over, we're going to break back down, or this means that that bulls are coming in, they're fighting, and they're going to break this horizontal resistance. Now, I think that that's more likely to be the case because it's happened so many times, and we've already broken through it before, not long ago. So I would say that this is looking good. Funding rates are a little optimistic right now. You can see BitMEX funding rates. I guess I'm still working on this indicator and seeing how it can play in. But funding rates, this currently means are negative, which means shorts are getting paying longs, and that should be a little bit bullish. Now again, I'm still learning to interpret that one, but I like this indicator. Anyways, onto the daily chart, which I think is very important. This rejection is very strong to me. This rejection is, you know, not as strong as this, obviously, but we had a full retrace here plus. But either way, we're still bouncing out of this local low at 64. What was it? 64.30, and we're fighting to keep our head in, you know, in this really stable range. And I think from there we can pop up to the next stable range. And that should get us into, you know, this channel that pops us up to a high of 8,200, maybe higher. I still need to figure out what we're going to do after 8,200. But I think that the, you know, we always talk about instances that external variables that can have an impact on the market. And the halvening is undoubtedly one of them. So as long as the halvening is looming overhead, and we're now months away, five and a half months away, I think that this is pretty much near time for us to get caught up in that current. Someone that I saw on Twitter, like the Twitter handle is like Panic Buy or something, put it best, saying that something along the lines that, you know, is the halving priced in? Is the halving priced in? Nothing's priced in. This is a brand new asset. It's 10 years old. It can do so much good for the world, and I actually subscribe to that idea a lot more. That the halving is not priced in. In fact, very little of Bitcoin is actually priced in. This really is an asset unlike any other in the history of mankind. So I'm looking forward to what I believe to be a setup here for a bull trend, and that move to 8,200 is kind of, you know, where's my head from there? Hopefully a little bit of consolidation and hopefully a good bit of upside action. And now if we can do this all in the next 2 months, then we're basically going to be swept up in the current of the halvening FOMO. and that'll be gradual. I'm less inclined to think that that's going to be a straight line up, but I'm all cannons long right now. I have pretty much only one position that's neutral. So I'm pretty much ready for this to take off. I'm hoping 6,400 was the bottom. I have longs in from 68 to the low 7,000s, which we're in right now. And I might set up a bigger position if I'm, the more certain I am that 8,200 is next on the horizon.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, you're for sure long, but Bitcoin seemingly trading sideways and quite stable. But the altcoins, at least the top ones, seem to actually be on the up and up. Let's take a look at some of those.
Yeah, let's take a look. I'm actually always curious. Let's take a look. XRP here. Well, we're still in the bottom half of the descending channel. I am not. This isn't. I mean, just looking at this, it looks like buyers aren't really stepping up to the plate here. 1.5, 0.36% move, no volume. 0.4, 1.11. Very small moves. This is not what you'd want to see in a decisive bottom. What you'd want to see in a decisive bottom is something like this, actually. And this would have been a great trade. I mean, I was telling you about it when it happened. I wasn't gonna touch it because I just couldn't. I couldn't. But good trade nonetheless. This doesn't really have that same look and feel. And this should have been the reversal. If there was going to be a chance, we double topped and broke down violently. I think that's probably going to be the next thing. I don't think that XRP has a massive jump to the upside, but if we do, we have resistance in the 20-cent range and we have resistance in the 24-cent range. I think XRP is a little bit of a wild asset too. Let's not exclude it from the general pack, but I'm not convinced that XRP is showing me enough bullish strength for us to get picked up and carried out of this very spacey, very confusing place to be. When I say confusing, I mean confusing for buyers and sellers. If buyers and sellers are saying, well, this could easily go much lower. I mean, this thing, there's nothing in recent history. If we zoom out, there's nothing in recent history. No local lows that we're testing. This has to go all the way back to years ago. And in crypto, I think we have a bit more of a short-lived memory, and it doesn't matter what external variables arise. I mean, this thing just really hasn't been kicking up. So I think XRP isn't doomed yet, but I think it is due for another move to the downside. This attempt at a breakout is completely weak, and I'm not very excited about that. If I was an XRP hodler, I would want to see a much stronger breakout and be sitting on the top end of this channel, threatening this a descending line in order to create a new ascending formation.
Well, looking at those volumes on the bottom of that volume bars, it does look like those major volume breakouts were actually red. Those are actually downturns. What does that mean for an asset when the big volume comes when it's going down?
Well, in this case, it looks like the biggest volume spikes are on the downside. Now, in order for me to really dissect this, I would so look at this, for example. This candle right here, the body is tiny relative to the wick space on bottom and the wick space on top. I know the mouse is kind of hiding this a bit, but let's get in here. So I would need to dissect this candle a little bit, drop this thing down to go back to November 25th, 2019, and basically chop this thing down to minute or 5-second candles and see where was that actual volume. Since this body is so tight, this volume can mean anything. This volume can mean that there was very low liquidity to the downside and we just sliced through it and quickly bounced. This could mean that there was tons of liquidity to the downside and then we, there was no liquidity, no sellers were chasing the book down, and then this thing quickly bounced without any liquidity. So I would really need to see that kind of stuff. This obviously has a much more decisive appearance to it. We have a big volume candle, tiny wick space. This was definitely selling, and that wasn't the low. So, I mean, we did go a bit lower and we did reject. So what does it tell me when we have a lot of bottom selling going on? It tells me that those are probably dumb money, probably not the smart sellers. I think the smart sellers probably XRP has acted very differently than every other crypto in this run, in the parabolic run for Bitcoin, Litecoin, etc. XRP, Ripple just kind of, stayed and did its own thing. which was mostly go sideways, stick to a reliable channel, and then break down violently from it. So I don't really know what it would mean for XRP. It could mean a number of things. This could easily mean that MoneyGram is dumping on bag holders. This could mean Ripple Labs is dumping on bag holders. Jed McCaleb is dumping on bag holders. This could mean tons and tons and tons of things with Ripple. I mean, it's a very different ecosystem here. So for now, let's just say it could be smart money. It could be the biggest bag holders in the space, similar to what I was saying with Bitcoin at 10K plus. That those are the smart sellers and those are the dumb buyers. This could easily be, dumb buyers and smart sellers as well, just in a very different context.
All right, and I'm looking right now at Ethereum's numbers. They seem to be up a couple of percentage points. What's Ethereum doing?
Yeah, let's take a look. I think, let me just flip this out. Was checking out some stocks the other day. Let me get ETHUSD up on Coinbase. And here we are. All right. According to Socrates MSR indicator, we're still in an active short from 176. That's good to see. I love that indicator. Let's take a quick look on the daily, though, and let me get rid of this for a second here. We're pretty much looking... Consolidation seems to be the key here. We consolidated before a breakdown, but I'm actually not unhappy about these types of consolidations. So this is building strength for a potential bouncer, move to the upside, but we have all our moving averages angled down. I mean, this is a dangerous asset, and this is why I don't like to trade alts. This is a very hot potato. Not to mention the fact that Ethereum literally, it has some drama going on inside its camp. So, I don't know if you saw, but there was that one letter going around, that email or something, dear valued customer or something. It came from the head of hard forking or whatever, the head of hard forks for Ethereum. And so it's like, how decentralized can a protocol be if they have a person in charge of, notifying the public of hard forks and et cetera. So it's kind of interesting to me. I think Ethereum is a big lie. I don't think it's going to deliver on any of its promises. I think the price will not reflect that. I think the price is going to reflect the speculation more so than the reality. So I would say Ethereum is likely to live and likely to probably act in similar fashion to Bitcoin. If it goes up, Bitcoin goes up, Ethereum probably has a chance. So I think Ethereum's looking okay right now. We're consolidating. We created a higher local low. We're now competing for a higher local high. Everything, in my eyes, rests on that. If we can really start picking up some bullish momentum, it's going to require us to start making some higher highs. And historically, it's been weeks since we've really had that opportunity. We double topped here, broke down a bit more. Now we're slowly grinding our way back up. So ETH has a little bit of work to do. Obviously, they have the support. Let's see if they have, if those supporters have the money. But right now, it's looking kind of similar, in fact, to a year ago. When Bitcoin was bottoming out, and we had all these daily moves that were 0.42%, 0.59. This feels very similar to back in the day when Bitcoin was consolidating at the bear market bottom in the $3,000 territory. So, with that being said, I'm not saying this is a bottom, but I'm leaning toward it, and whatever Ethereum does, whether it goes 10x or 100x, I still think Bitcoin's the better buy long term. But I think that it's very possible that this transition has shifted from a definitive bear market, which I believe was the case as we broke down through the descending triangle in the 10Ks in Bitcoin, into a pretty wild ride down, and then into a transition phase. And I think the transition phase is starting to become more clear, that we're transitioning out of successfully transitioning out of the bear market into a bull market. And if that's the case, then let's look at some modest gains over the next few months, and see if any sort of massive demand for Bitcoin. Because we all know that I'm a Tether futter. I think Tether was largely responsible for the manipulation that took Bitcoin's price and maybe some of the altcoins with it from the 3,000s to the 14,000 range. And it's even possible that it had a role to play earlier on in late 2017. Now Tether's mostly out of the picture. They're not printing 100 million packs anymore. So now I'm really curious. I want to live through and visually see organic demand for this launch the price of Bitcoin without any sort of asterisk, and that asterisk would be some sort of manipulator. So I think we're nearing that point, and I think the next few months will give it to us. And I really want to live through that and see what it's like. You know, I did in 2017, and I had no idea that Tether had anything to do with anything. So I do remember that there was a palpable FOMO, you know, tons and tons of people involved. Now let's see if we can get that back and organically bring Bitcoin's price up to a new all-time high, you know, hopefully during or before the halving, maybe shortly after. But, you know, it's still going to be an interesting and valuable data either way.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash is actually sitting at up 3% on the day. Let's take a look at those charts, see what's happening under the hood.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Vitalik Buterin said, "Congratulations, seriously," somewhere around here, to Roger Ver, that piece of garbage. Anyways, two pieces of garbage, birds of a feather though. Let's see here. We have 8% move, 1%, 3%. This is, well, we have resistance at the 50 MA, so I'm not going to get too excited just yet. I mean, we do have buying going on. Now, this is a much smaller micro pool of traders. I mean, let's take a quick look at the market cap. I just want to see what we're looking at and how illiquid of a pool Bitcoin Cash is. 3 billion, 3.8 bill. That's looking pretty ugly. So in terms of a price move, this doesn't really take much money to move it. And we do have some volume here, but I'm not really confident of anything just yet. Let's see how we react at the 50-day moving average. Volume's already dwindling as we near it. This might just be a trade opportunity, and people are going to dump into this, and we could have a lower low. So I would just say beware of Bitcoin Cash. It is complete trash. It's a centralized garbage coin. Don't fall for Roger Ver's lies, because you know, that'll get people buying. But I really don't think that the community is big enough to pump this thing wildly to the upside without any sort of third-party actor like Roger or Jihan Wu or someone, you know, people that have massive incentive to make this thing succeed.
So you think that because of, you know, the centralized nature of the holdings, you can't really judge the coin by its charts. There's just too many outside manipulators and variables?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was said that Bitmain at one point owned around 5% of the total supply. I think Roger Ver had, you know, a ton of Bitcoin Cash as well. So, you know, when you have people like that and massive whales that are actively involved in the market, you know, Roger Ver is actively involved with Bitcoin.com and, you know, trying to herd people into Bitcoin Cash and all this stuff. I think that in those scenarios, you probably have a situation where it's obvious that they need to dump their bags, but they need buyers. So what they're going to do is keep making the market appear to look good for at least a little while, and so they could dump their bags for a little bit and, you know, shave some off the top, get some cash back in their pocket, probably move it back to Bitcoin, and then if they're smart, and then leave the bag holders, you know, with some painfully heavy bags.
Yeah, but here on Trader's Take, I mean, we're talking traders. We're talking making money. We don't really care about the actual use cases or the teams or anything like that. We're talking Muna, baby. So basically, let's say there is these big whales. These are these big bag holders. They have an incentive to drive up prices. Is there no money to be made by anticipating these upward movements of these whales and then getting out in time before they dump their bags?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say be careful. You know, this altcoin space is hot potatoes. You can absolutely catch those runs, you know, and it's happened. I'm sure, you know, some traders catch it, you know, a ton of times. But you're talking about a very dangerous move that's going to require you to babysit the heck out of your trade. You know, we're already into a 3-day move here. Now, I've told you before that there's been days where I don't sleep because I'm babysitting the heck out of a trade. And this would be a classic example. We get a pump, we have some follow through. When's the pullback going to be? This would be the most stressful trade that I would be in, you know, trying to long this at some point where I felt like, all right, this looks like a confirmed higher low. We're going to move up here. Oh, wow, we moved up 8%. All right, I'll take it. Let's keep this thing going. And then now I'm deciding where I'm going to exit. Well, we're definitely meeting some resistance around here. I mean, I would say, yeah, now is probably a good time to exit, just based on the technicals here. But what's a whale going to do? We're easily riding our way up to the top end of over bought territory. It's possible that a whale would look at that and say, well, if everyone's going to sell here, maybe I should pump the price a bit more, shake them out, shake out some shorts, and liquidate them, and then let's let this thing come crashing down. That's the very dangerous game that I talk about. You never know when someone's going to actually do the opposite, counter trend you, and then you're locked into a losing position. And especially in this choppy of a market, that's why I keep saying to my viewers and to my Telegram group and all that stuff, guys, don't play with more than like 5x right now. It's really been liquidation hunts lately, and stop hunts, and people are losing money on stops, getting hit within a couple dollars of their stop limits. They're getting liquidated. I remember when I threw out a 100x order like as a joke the other day, and it got hit by like $1. They're basically this is a choppy market, and it's straight up liquidation hunts and it's stop hunts. So just be careful. If you're trading these things, go low lev, go modest money, and if you can catch a move to the upside, take it and take profit when you can. Set up some stops, and then just and then move on to the next one.
Joe, I didn't want to have to tell you this, but I'm actually quite friendly with the whales and have been for a very, very long time. I don't know your knowledge of the Bible or the Old Testament, but Jonah was actually swallowed by the whale and taken to safety. So I'm not afraid of the whales. They've always been my friends. So maybe I'm a little more willing to hop in the waters with them. Joe, thank you so much for joining us here on this special educational version of Trader's Take. And as always, at home, if you'd like to know more on blockchain, crypto, and maybe the Bible, check us out at blocktv.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.